I am going to show you how to make these little right angle weave embellished earrings. And turn it this way. And it's just a very basic stitch embellished, but the way that I've embellished them makes it look like it's a prong set. Makes it look like a very expensive set. When you're finished with this, if you use the metallics and everything that I did, you will be surprised just how pretty this really is. It looks like it's a really fancy set of jewelry that you've paid lots and lots of money for. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. We'll look at what we need to make these. We will be making a necklace too, but today it's just going to be the ring and earrings in this, or earrings and ring in this tutorial. Okay, so for this project, you are going to need 15 seed beads. Now, for this project, I tried to achieve a prong set look. So with the prong set look is what makes this piece look expensive, like it's cast and it's gemstones instead of crystal and beads and glass beads. So you may want to stick with some metallic colored beads. Now I'm going to use, in my 15-0, I'm going to use the galvanized silver Toho. And I'm also going to use, in one of my colors of 8-0, I'm going to use 2 colors of 8-0, and I'm going to use the galvanized silver 8-0. And I am going to, which they're actually galvanized aluminum Toho seed beads is what they are. And then I'm going to use the Starlight metallic gold or galvanized gold colored Toho in my 8-0 also. I'm going to use a mix of metal colors to make it look cast, to give it a bit of a contrast so that you can see where I put my 15-0s. They look like prongs. So that's why I'm using metallics, and though I use metallics a lot, in this one it's pretty important. Of course you can use any color you want, but you're not going to achieve the same look unless you use some kind of metallics. It doesn't matter if it's copper or if it's bronze or gold, silver, it doesn't matter. Just as long as it could be steel colored, anything, pewter, just as long as it's a metallic. And like I said, if you don't want to use a metallic, you don't have to either. Then you're going to need some 3 or 2x3 rondels. Now you can probably get away with a 3mm bicone, but I'm using 2x3 rondels. These are Chinese crystals simply because I cannot find these in the quantity I need, or even in the size I need, the 2x3 in Swarovski. I get these from ChineseCrystalBeads.com, and you can get them in very long strands. They're very pretty. I don't often recommend Chinese crystal, especially in bicones, but in other shapes it works just fine. And this is very pretty, works out really good. If you can find them in a Swarovski, go for it. Then you're going to need, for the entire set, it depends on whether you want to make just the earrings today or just the ring, but I'm going to also make a pendant. You're going to need at least 4 of your 8mm bicone crystals. I'm using a tanzanite, and I have a few of them out here, but it has to be an 8mm bicone. This is a Swarovski. Then you're going to need some 4mm bicone crystals also, and this is a double AB rose, I believe, and it's also a Swarovski. Then you're going to need 2 ear wires, and with this ear wire I got from Fire Mountain. It's a fancy ear wire, 21mm 22 gauge flat round gold plated stainless steel. That's what these are. I'm only showing you one. Of course you'll need 2, but I've already made my other earring, and I only have 2 of these. So I got these as a free sample from Fire Mountain Gems. So if you like these, that's where you can get those. Then you will need 8-pound Fireline, and I'm using crystal today. You'll want to start, for your first component, start with about a wingspan. And I just want to mention that I will probably do the earrings and the ring in this video, but I will make another component exactly the same And I will probably do the necklace in the next one because I have in my mind's eye something a little fancier to do with the necklace. It will be just one component, so you may want to go ahead and make your component, but it will probably be in a separate video. So go ahead and thread your needle and we'll get started. Okay, after you have threaded your needle, then you will begin with the 8/0 seed beads. We're going to do a simple right angle weave stitch. We are going to pick up 4 8/0 seed beads. I'm starting with my gold tone. And then we will bring them down to the end of the thread and we'll just tie a knot with the tail and the working thread, just so these beads don't slip. Just make sure that your knot goes down between the beads and not on top of them. And you don't have to tie a lot of knots because we're going to sew back through this and we don't want the knots to block our beads anyway. So once you have tied your knot, then just sew back up through all of your beads. We will be sewing through every single unit that we make on our base here twice, simply because when you're doing right angle weave with one needle, it stabilizes your beads much better. It makes them stronger to hold up your embellishments and it keeps them neater. I prefer to go one bead at a time also so that I don't pull my beads into funny positions. So just go all the way around. And then I'm coming out of the bead where my knot is. I'm going to sew up to the top bead so that I can continue my units of right angle weave. Each unit will have 4 beads. We will now share a bead from the previous unit, so we will be picking up 3 8/0 seed beads on each unit hereafter. Let's get a little bit closer. Now I'm coming out of this bead that's on the other side of my tail, right here. I'm going to pick up 3 8/0 seed beads. I'm coming out of this side. I'm going to go into the opposite side, pull my beads down, and then I'm going to sew back through them again. As I sew back through them, that's when I will establish my tension. So I will keep it very tight. I know my thumb is covering the beads, but that's the way I retain my tension. So I'm just sewing back through all of them. I'm now coming through my connecting bead and I will sew all the way back to this bead. So I'll go through this one and then I will sew through this one so that I can make another unit. I will make sure everything's nice and neat and tight and pick up 3 more beads. We will make 4 units of right angle weave and then we'll turn the corner and make 3 more. Each side will have 4 units, but you will include the previous unit that you've made as your 4th. So I'm just sewing back through all of my beads. I'm coming through my connecting bead, and then I will sew back up to the top. Just a basic right angle weave. This is actually a very basic unit that we're creating, but it's the way that it's embellished that makes it unique. 3 more of my 8/0s. I'm coming out of this side, I'll go into the opposite side and pull them down. And I'm just going to turn it over so it's easier for me to sew through all of my beads. I've got my beading tray sitting next to me and my thread is getting tangled on everything. Suppose I should move that. Okay, so now I have 3 units. 1, 2, 3. I have 4 units, And this is where I want to turn my corner. So I'm coming through my connecting bead right here. I'm going to sew up through the side bead here, like so. Establish my tension, and now I'm going to make 3 units this way. Like I said, each side will have 4 units. However, we're going to count the previous unit, this one that we're coming out of, as our first unit. So now we will make 3 more units. So we'll pick up 3 8/0 seed beads. We're coming out of this side of the 8/0. We're going to go into the opposite side and pull our beads down. And now we've made a corner. We will sew back through the entire unit. When you get to the connecting bead, sew to the top. And now I will make 3 more or 2 more units because I have 2. 1, 2. I will do the exact same thing. I'll make 2 more and then we'll be back. Okay, so I have made my 2 additional units of right angle weave, and if they get a little messy looking, don't worry about it too much because our next stage will straighten them out, but keep them as neat as you can. I made my unit, secured it, sewed around to the front bead as if I were to make my next unit. However, now I want to go down again and make 3 more units. So I'm going to go down into this bottom bead here. And I will begin 3 more units of right angle weave here. So I'll pick up 3 8/0 seed beads and continue doing just as I did previously. So go ahead and make 3 more units of right angle weave, sewing through them to secure them, and then making your next unit, and so on until you have your 4 boxes on this side. So you'll count your previous unit, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I have my 4 units on this side now. I just count the little holes in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can always count the top outside beads too. Now I am coming out of my last unit I just created in the connecting bead. Now this last one is a little bit different because we need to connect them. So we will only make, we've already got 2 units. So we have this unit here and this unit here on our bottom one. So we only need to make 2 units. The first unit will be a full unit, and then the second unit will attach to this unit here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come out of this side bead right here, and then we're going to pick up just a regular unit. So we'll pick up our 3 beads like this, and we'll come into the opposite side as we've been doing. Sew around it as we've been doing. And so all the way up into the connecting bead and then back down into the front bead for our next unit. So I'm going through my connecting bead. I'm going to go down through this side bead and then into this bottom bead here. Right here. Now we need to connect this unit to this unit. All we need, since we have our 2 side beads, are the 2, or our top and bottom. So now we need our 2 side beads. So we'll pick up 1 8/0 seed bead, and we will go into, we're coming out of this bead here, we'll go into this bead here on the same side, like so. And then we'll pick up another 8/0 seed bead. We're coming out of this bead, we're going to go back into the bead we started in, and we will just pull them together like so. Now we will sew back through this to secure it. Okay, so now I am coming out of this bead here, my connecting bead that I started in. I'm going to sew into this bottom bead here, right here, and then into the side bead here. I'm just going to work my way back up to the top of my piece. Now I am going to go ahead and get rid of this tail, and I'm just going to make it shorter. You can burn it down, I just don't have a lighter available, so I'm going to just cut it real short to keep it out of my way. And I'm going to begin by coming up into this corner bead right here, and then I will pick up one of my silver 8/0 seed beads. And I'm coming out of this bead here, I'm just going to slide into the next corner bead. And this one will just kind of pop up in the corner like so. Then we will just go all the way around and place a silver 8/0 between all of the gold 8/0 seed beads on the outside. So I'm coming out of this bead, I will go into this one, pop it down securely, pick up another one, go into the next one, pop it down securely, then I will go into the next one, and now I'm in the corner again. I want to place a bead right in my corner, so I'm coming out of this bead, I pick up an 8/0, and I go into this bead. Just like so. Then I will start this side. I will, coming out of this one, go into this one, just popping a bead down in between each unit of right angle weave here. Whoops. And we will do this all the way around the piece. Just remember when you get to the corners to just put one between the two corner beads. And continue placing your contrast color seed bead in between all of these, and we'll be back. Okay, so I've gone all the way around. I'm just about to put my last 8/0 seed bead, my silver one, in between my gold ones. So I'm going to pick up my bead, and I'm coming out of this one. I'm going to go into this one, and I'm also just going to hop up into the corner one I added. Pull everything down. Make sure everything's nice and neat. Now we need to get down to the inside here and secure it. So we're coming out of this corner seed bead. We're going to have to go into the 8/0 next to it, just the gold 8/0 right here, and pull our thread through. Then we'll go down into this side 8/0 seed bead right here, and then we need to get down to the bottom one, so we're going to go into this one here, and we're going to begin placing silver seed beads, our 8/0 seed beads, in our contrast color all the way through the inside ones. So I'm coming out of this one, I'm going to go into this one. It'll just get just a tiny bit closer, just so that you can see what I'm doing. I'll back off in a minute. Go through there. Now when you get to the corner, it doesn't look like there's enough room there, but this bead is going to pop up in this little square here, so don't worry about it. Just pick up your 8/0 seed bead. You're coming out here, turn the corner, and go into this one. Just make sure your bead pops down between the other beads, like so. Now this will kind of make it start to dome a little bit. Don't worry about that. It's just a very slight dome, and that's okay. Now we're coming out of this bead. We'll go into this one. And then again in the corner. We're coming out of this one. We'll go into this one. Pop it down in the middle. Then pick up your next one. We'll just work our way all the way around. We do the corner again here. Now it does seem like it's going to fold all up and do weird things, but once I get it all in here, it'll straighten itself out. It'll just kind of lift this outside or this inside area where we're putting on these beads will just kind of lift above the other beads, and that's fine. So now I'm coming out of this bead in the corner here. We're going to go into this one, and we're going to slide all the way up these three, and you can go into the corner bead that you started with also, like so. I'm going to pull this down, Make sure it pops into place. And then I'm going to let these beads just kind of rest up above the rest of them, just like that. It'll lift a little bit, and that's okay. That's what we want. Arrange them so they're nice and neat. Just like so. Just make sure all your beads are in place. Okay, this is what we have now. We're coming out of this corner bead here. We're going to start some embellishments. We are first going to do our middle large bead. So now you will need your 8mm bicone. Now I did do one with a round when I was very first doing this, just to see if it would work. If this is an 8mm round, it lifts it up way high above it. You can do that if you want. Or you can just use a 6mm round, whatever you want in the middle. Just make sure as you embellish it, you use enough 15-0 so you don't see any thread. I'm using an 8mm bicone. Pick up two 15-0 seed beads. I'm using my silver 15-0s, and then go through the 8mm bead. And just let it fall down. Then pick up two more 15-0 seed beads. Now you're originally coming out of this side of this corner bead here. You're going to go into the same side of the opposite corner bead. Make sure it's the same side, don't crisscross. So I'm coming out of this side here, I'm going to go into this side here, just like so. Then I'm going to pull these beads down across the piece, like this. Then I'm going to pick up two 15-0 seed beads. I'm going to go back into my crystal and pull my thread. Make sure there's no slack up here where the beads meet. And then pick up two more 15-0s, go into the same side of the 8-0 that you started in, right here. Like so. Now we're coming out of this 8-0 seed bead right here. We're going to use a 4mm bicone crystal on each of the corners. So since we're in the corner here, we will pick up a 15-0 seed bead. We will pick up a 4mm bicone crystal and a 15-0 seed bead, just like this. Then you will drop these down to your piece. You're originally coming out of this side of this little 8-0 seed bead in the corner here. You're going to go into the same side in the 8-0 in the corner sticking up on the outside of your piece. And pull all three of these little beads down, just like that. Pick up a 15-0 seed bead. Go back through the crystal. Pull your thread and your bead through. Make sure you don't have any slack. And then pick up another 15-0 seed bead. And we're going to go back into this side of the 8-0 that we started in. Right here. Now, without crisscrossing, going into the opposite side of the bead and stuff like you do sometimes, this makes this look like a prong setting. You can see these little 15-0s laying on either side of the crystals, this main one here and these down here, it looks like a prong setting. That's what I was trying to achieve. That's why you don't want to crisscross at all. You just want to go up through the bead and then go through the bead, up through the crystal and go through the bead that you're attaching to on the same side that you started in on the other side of the bead that you're attaching to, if that makes any sense at all. That way they lay side by side and they look like a prong. Now, we are coming out of this 8-0 in the corner. Now we're going to, maybe I should stay close so you can see. I'm coming out of this 8-0, I'm going to go down into the 8-0 in my base units here, my gold one right here, and I'm just going to pull my thread through that. And then I'm going to travel over, I'm going to go into the silver 8-0 that I added as my embellishment, and then I'm going to go into the gold one in my base, right here. And now I am ready to add my 2x3 crystal rondelles. I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead, a crystal rondelle, and a 15-0 seed bead. And we're going to work from this bead to this bead, the gold beads in the base, right opposite of each other. We are going to do the same thing. We're coming out of this side, we're going to go into the same side of the opposite one. Now you don't want to get any of your other beads on your work, and it's kind of a pain in the butt, but you can do it. Pull them through slowly. Do these embellishments very slowly. Make sure they're nice and tight and everything looks good as you do this. Don't get in a hurry. Pick up a 15-0 seed bead. Go back through the crystal rondelle and pull your thread through. Tighten the side so that your 15-0s lay like prongs again. Pick up another 15-0 seed bead. Go down into the gold bead. Now sometimes it's hard to get into these base beads. You're just going to have to move the silver ones around. Then, when you're going through this gold bead on the back, go through the silver embellishment bead, the one in between, and then go through your next base unit gold bead right here and pull through. Tighten down your crystal, make sure it's laying nice, and then begin your next embellishment. Pick up a 15-0 seed bead, a crystal rondelle, and a 15-0 seed bead. You're coming out of this side of this gold base bead. You're going to go into this side of the opposite gold base bead on the same side, and only the gold bead. Just do it gently so you don't mess up your work. Pull it down. Pick up another 15-0 seed bead. Go through the crystal like so. Pull it down. Tighten it. Make sure that there's no thread showing. You'll get a little bit, especially under magnification. You're going to see my thread. But to your bare eyes, just make sure that the 15-0 pops up above the 8-0. It doesn't fall down in it or to the side of it. Otherwise, you'll see your thread. And then pick up a 15-0 seed bead and come into the opposite side, or into the same side you're exiting from on this side of the gold base bead. Also go through the next gold bead and the corner silver bead. So you're going through this silver bead, this gold bead, and this silver bead. We will now put our corner unit on with our bicone crystal. So as you can see, I have my two little crystals here, my corner crystal, and we will do one more bicone crystal. So we will pick up, we're coming out of this bead here, pick up a 15-0, pick up a 4mm bicone, pick up a 15-0, come through the corner silver bead here right next to your big crystal, and just through it, pull your crystal into place, pick up a 15-0 seed bead, go down through the bicone crystal again, pull everything tight, arrange it, and pick up a 15-0 and go back through your corner bead, your next gold bead, your next silver bead, and your next gold bead. So I'm going through this bead, and this bead, and I'm going to exit. And tighten my embellishment. Make sure, sometimes these 15-0s want to fall in strange places. Push them up in the proper place. Let's see what my thread did here. Okay. No, all right, that's okay. Just kind of tangled around the other 15-0s, so now I've got it laying next to the other 15-0 that I put in, so it's good. Okay, back off a little bit. Now we will start our embellishments with the rondelles. We'll do two of them, go to the corner, do your bicone again, two rondelles, go to the corner, do your bicone again, and two rondelles, and then we'll be back. Okay, I have done my crystal embellishments all the way around except for the very last one. I'm going to do the last one on camera. So we'll pick up a 15-0 seed bead and a rondel and a 15-0 seed bead. The last one can be really tight and squishy, so you just have to work your way through it. Just take your time and you'll get it through. So I'm coming out of this side, I'm going to go into this side of my crystal, and I'm going to have to bring my needle at an angle to get it up through without getting any of the rest of my embellishments or my beads or anything like that. Now I've pulled that down. I'm going to pick up another 15-0, go through the crystal again, and then I will pick up another 15-0, and I'm going to go through the gold bead, then the silver bead next to it, the gold bead after that, and then the silver corner bead. At this point, your component is complete. We will now make our connection for the earring. If you are making this for the ring, which we will do next, you'll stop here and then you'll continue with the part of the film where I make the band for the ring. Right now, we are going to do the earring. So this is a complete component, and we're going to begin our next part of this project with picking up. Let me make sure how I did it on my last one here. We are going to pick up a gold 8-0 seed bead. Then we're going to pick up a silver 8-0 seed bead and a gold 8-0 seed bead. Out of this corner seed bead right here, we're going to build another unit of right angle weave. I'm just going to do it with 2 colors. I'm coming out of this side. I'm going to go into the opposite side. And I'm going to turn it over and sew back through this unit again to secure it. I'm going to get down into the bead that connects to the earring right here, and I'm going to turn it over. Make sure my beads are nice and neat. And here I'm going to do the same thing I did with the rondelles down here. I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead and a rondel and a 15-0 seed bead like this. And I'm coming out of this side of this 8-0 seed bead. I'm going to come into the same side of the opposite 8-0 seed bead right here. And I'm going to pull this crystal down over this unit like so. And then I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead. I'm going to go into the crystal and just the crystal, and I'm going to pull this together here. And then I will pick up another 15-0 seed bead. Whoops, don't know if I was in frame at all, guys, I'm sorry. Now I'm going to pick up another 15-0 seed bead, and I'm going to go down into the connecting bead. So you can see if I turn it over, this bead right here, this 8-0. I'm going to go down into it, and then I'm going to straighten up this unit, make sure it looks nice and neat. I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to sew through it one more time to straighten out the base beads. So I'm just sewing through the 8-0s down here, just to secure my embellishment on the top and to make sure that the beads on the bottom are nice and neat and secure. Now I'm in the connecting bead here. I'm going to sew up to the top bead right here. Let's see, I think I just came out of, yeah, come out of the top bead. I'm trying to compare it to my last earring because, you know, can't remember anything. Okay, so I'm coming out of this silver seed bead here. I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead. I am going to pick up an 8-0 seed bead. Turn my piece back over. I'm going to drop these down. And then I'm going to pick up my ear wire like this, making sure my little decorative part is facing up. I'm going to go through the ear wire. Then I'm going to pick up another 8-0 and a 15-0, and I'm going to go through the other side of the 8-0 that I started in. Now this seems strange, but the 8/0s are going to hold this nice and steady. So I'm going to arrange it as well as I can like this. And then I'm going to sew through all of these beads several times. So I will just come up through my 15/0. I'm coming out of the 8/0 in the base unit on the earring, or the one we just created actually. And then I'm coming up through this 8/0. I'm going to go through the ear wire and this 8/0 on the opposite side, down through the 15/0 and the connecting 8/0. And we're going to do that 3 or 4 times, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I have secured my ear wire on now. Now we're going to turn it over and look at the back. I am coming out of my 8/0, my silver 8/0 on the top here, after sewing through and securing the ear wire itself. Now we're going to add just a couple little 15/0s around here to stabilize it. As you can see in my previous earring, it's nice and stable and straight. And we're going to do that by adding some 15/0 seed beads. So I'm coming out of this 8/0. There's a 15/0 on the side here already, but we're going to pick up another 15/0, and then we're just going to go down the next 8/0, the gold 8/0 right here. Pull it through. Oops. Let me get rid of this other earring. Okay. And I'm just going to bring that 8/0 down, so it's going to, or this 15/0 down on top of the 8/0 here. Then I'm going to pick up another 15/0, and I'm going to go through the 8/0 on the unit itself, on the earring. And then I'm going to pick up another 15/0 and go up into the 8/0 again. And one more 15/0, and I'll come through this 8/0 here, where we attached our ear wire, and pull. Now I have this all completely finished. It looks really nice. I'm going to go down into this 15/0 right here, and then down into the 8/0, down into the 15/0 underneath it. If I can get them all at once, I probably can't, because that 15/0 is at a funny angle. So I'm just going to go through this 8/0, through this 15/0 here, back into the ear wire, or not the ear wire, but the earring 8/0, and then I'm going to sew into the gold one underneath it. And make sure you don't pull anything out of line, and then go here. I'm going to catch this thread bridge, if I can, and tie a little knot. I can't, so I'm going to catch this thread bridge here between the two 8/0s, and I'm going to tie a little tiny knot, keeping my thread down between the beads, and then I'll go down into this 8/0 here. Oops. Oh, I just keep getting out of frame. Sorry guys. I'm going to down here. Hopefully I was in frame most of this video, because I'm just not paying attention today. Go down and then into this bead here. So basically you don't have to follow how I'm doing it. I'm just sewing back through my work, following my thread path the best I can. I'm going to skip that and go into my original thread path here before I put that bead between there, and then go back up through. So if you just follow your gold beads, you'll be better off. And then I am going to just cut this thread off. You can sew through it as much as you want. Arrange everything nicely. Get my other one here. I'll pick them up on some tweezers or something so that you can see how they look. Like this. Zoom in a little bit. And this is what these look like. These look like very expensive set earrings. Gemstones and diamonds is what it looks like. I think they're very, very pretty. So now what we're going to do is we are going to create one more component, and like I showed you, after you were done with that component, just leave your thread coming out of one of the top corner beads, you probably want to come out of the side. Have your bead in the middle right here. Don't go out of these two. Come out of this side here. As we'll want to put our band for our ring on either side. We don't want to put it on this side. Well, you can, but if your stone is this way on your finger, it's more elongating. So we will do it this way. Come out of one of these side beads, and make sure that you start with about a wingspan and a half of thread, because we did have a little extra, not that much, so maybe even 2 wingspans for your ring, so that you have enough to make your band, depending upon how big your finger is. And we'll be back. Okay, so here is my ring component I have made. I have finished it up and just made sure that I came out of one of these top beads with my my crystal vertical. I decided to sew all the way over to one of these side beads on the side of my crystal, so that when I put this on my hand, my crystal will be up and down like this. If you want it this way, you can, but I kind of prefer it to be up and down like that. So come around wherever you exited after making your unit, come around until you're exiting one of the side little 8/0 seed beads in the corner, so that your crystal is vertical. And then we are going to start making units of right angle weave with our 8/0 seed beads. We're going to use both the silver and the gold this time. I'm coming out of a silver, so I'm going to pick up a gold and then a silver and then a gold. Now this isn't necessary, you don't have to do it, but I just thought it would look nice. So I'm going to then go around, and I started on one side, of course, and came through the opposite side to make my unit of right angle weave. And then I'm just going to sew through it, and just like we've been doing, make sure you secure each unit, especially on your ring band. You could even go through it twice if you're especially hard on your rings. Whenever you make a ring, your wearer is going to beat the holy patootie out of it, so you want to make sure that you make the band very strong. So now I've sewn all the way around. I'm coming out of the middle. I am then going to pick up a gold, then a silver, then a gold seed bead, 8/0. I'm coming out of this side, I'm going to go into this side, and I'm going to continue doing this until I have the length that will fit around my finger. Just a little bit larger, actually, because we're going to put a bead in between these in the band, so that we can, that will tighten it up a little bit. But it's nicer to have a bead between the outside beads so that it doesn't dig into your finger. So continue making units of right angle weave, securing them until you have the length you want. You can also put it around a ring mandrel if you'd like, or just test it around your finger. And we will be back. Okay, so I have made 11 units. Now, my hand's very big, so 11 units is going to make a very large ring, probably about an 8, maybe a little bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some 11/0s in this, because this is even going to be a tiny bit big for the ring I want. And I want to cinch it in. I kind of like it to gather in. So I'm going to add some 11/0s in the mix. I'm going to use the galvanized silver. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew up into this top one here. And now that I finished this last unit and I'm coming out of the top bead, I need to join it to this side of my ring. So I'm going to find my most corner bead. On the opposite side, I'm going to pick up a gold 8/0 seed bead, and then I'm going to go into the same side I'm coming out of my band into the ring, like this. Now I'm going to pick up another 8/0 seed bead in gold, and then I'm coming out of the one on the ring face. I'm going to go into the one on the ring band here and pull them tight. Now I'm just going to sew around this joint 3 or 4 times to make sure it's nice and secure. Flying rings. Let's see. Turn it and get you a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just joining my last unit together here. Now I should be able to tighten it up and draw it together. I'm going to sew all the way until I'm coming out of the adjoining bead again. And then I'm going to just go down into the side bead here, and I'm going to start putting 11-0 seed beads between these 8-0s. Just an 11-0 at a time. Now if you don't want to cinch your ring in, just use another 8-0. I'm going to go ahead and put an 11-0 in and pull it tight. And then I'm going to go from bead to bead all the way down the length. So I'm coming out of this one, I'm picking up an 11-0, I'm going to go into this one, and I'm just going to do this the entire length of my band. And when I get to the end, we will be back. Okay, so I have placed my 11-0 all the way into the end here, and you can see how it's kind of gathered it in. It makes a nice finish to the end of the right angle weave here. So I'm coming out of the last one on the side here from putting my last little 11-0 in. I'm going to go through the 8-0 on the ring. Then I'm going to go through the side bead on the opposite side that I finished here, like so. And I'm going to do the same thing again. Pick up an 11-0 and slide from bead to bead until I'm all the way to the end. When I get to the end, we'll just sew through or work a little bit, some of the units, and tie off. And once we have tied off and cut our thread off, we will be back so we can see the finished product of our endeavors today. Okay, so I have gone all the way on the opposite side. You can see my band now. And I'm coming out of my last 8-0 seed bead after putting my last little 11-0 in my band. I'm going to come up through the 8-0 on my ring. And I'm just going to sew back through the original base units in my band. So just the 8-0s. So I'm going to come back through here. And I'm going to come back through here. Just avoid the 11-0s and just sew into the 8-0s. And sew as much as you possibly can to reinforce your band. You can sew the entire length, tying a few half-hitch knots here and here. I'll grab here and there. I'll grab a little half-hitch knot right here between these two beads. Right here. And then I'll just continue sewing again. You can sew the entire length of the band, like I said, to make sure it's reinforced. Grab knots as you do it. Once you have sewn as much as you think you need to, or however much thread you have left, I have a good length of thread left, so I wanted to just continue sewing through and knotting to make sure my band is strong. Once I have finished that, then I will cut off my thread, melt it down with a lighter, and we'll be back. Okay, so this is the finished product. You can see the back of my ring, and this is what it looks like on my hand. Let me straighten it all out here. And these are what the earrings look like. I think it's a really pretty little set, and I am going to make a pendant necklace. So just make one more component to match these, and I will make a necklace out of it. It's just going to be one unit of the component here, but I will make it fancy around the top or something. So just make sure you have one more made, and we will get that going as soon as possible, probably next weekend. And anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this little tutorial. It's just a quick little easy one. I was kind of having a beading block, so whenever I have a beading block, I just go back to the basics. I went back to right angle weave and embellished it. That just works for me, and it kind of gets me out of my funk. Anyway, have a good day, and we'll see ya.